Key point 1. Why do people choose to study medicine? In 2015, Adam Kay's name was removed from the medical register because at that time, he had not been practicing medicine for 5 years. This fact upset him, but also gave him the right to stop keeping tons of medical reports at home. But after reviewing records and recalling the experience, Adam decided to share them and demystify the medical career for people from other spheres. How do you become a doctor? What pitfalls arise in their professional path? Is saving people's lives the greatest challenge doctors face? Soon, you will find out the answers to all these questions. By the way, when talking about choosing medicine as their vocation, most students voice 3 main reasons: the desire to follow their parents' careers, the influence of pop culture, Hello House series, and the aspiration to develop cures for deadly diseases. Adam's father influenced his choice in school, whose graduates usually became doctors, lawyers, and politicians. After 6 years of study, becoming a doctor no longer seemed so cheerful and easy, and the beginning of his practice completely dispelled his naive expectations. As you start a new career, ask experts about the potential rewards and challenges of reaching your goals. Nevertheless, 6 years in the hospital helped Adam Kay develop his strategy for practical work as a doctor. His insights, jokes, patient stories, and advice will be helpful and intriguing for medical professionals and those curious about what's going on in the minds of those mysterious people donning white coats. Key point 2. The core of medical practice. The life of a junior doctor is full of entirely different experiences. On the one hand, they must constantly follow doctors, observe how they make diagnoses, and communicate with patients. Also, they have many night shifts, and in case of an emergency, they have to demonstrate in practice what they've learned at university. On the other hand, they also witness funny situations. For example, on the first day, Adam Kay was given access to his new email, atom.k@nhs.net. But then if something went wrong at work, he could blame some guy named Atom instead. The start of practice is also a chance to meet unique patients. One day, fate brought Adam face to face with an extraordinary man who wore his shirt as a coat and joined the doctors during their morning rounds, trying to take an active part in their discussions. You may think this person also had a medical career, but no. The patient decided that he knew everything about diseases just as well as doctors. Doctors need kindness and simplicity to foster empathy and effectively communicate with patients. At the same time, Adam's work contained tragic moments. As a junior doctor, he witnessed his first death due to esophageal vein dilation. Seeing the bleeding, he immediately called his registrar, Hugo, but even he could not help the patient. While Hugo had experienced such situations more than once, Adam was shocked. That day, he smoked for the first time. These situations are the aspects of a doctor's job often overlooked by society. Death becomes a regular part of their routine. Can they get used to the people around them dying more often than in everyday life outside the hospital? Do they ever stop blaming themselves for not doing enough to save patients? No one will give an unequivocal answer to these questions. But the fact remains, each loss impacts doctors' lives and affects their emotional health. And after such stress, it is hard to take a day off and then return to work as if nothing had happened. Key point 3. A medical specialization provides the necessary career focus. After a year at the hospital, Adam Kay became a senior house officer. Did hospital management begin to demand more from him? Rather yes than no. Did he earn more? Rather no than yes. Also, the time to choose a specialization was approaching. After weighing all the advantages and disadvantages of different directions, Adam focused on obstetrics and gynecology. Thus, he jokingly considered himself the complete antithesis of geriatricians. They deal with ailments of older adults while he increases the population. For 3 months, Adam was present at 15 cesarean section operations and observed the work of surgeons. Colleagues have offered him the opportunity to operate, but he only agreed when he was utterly confident in his knowledge. No matter how focused he was on the process, the realization that he was working with a real person and helping a new life be born surpassed anything else. Through his work in the department, he also got to know neonatologists, who study the development and diseases of babies. Thanks to their meticulous attention to the first weeks and months of infants' lives, doctors know how to help those born during the early weeks of pregnancy. And so, over the past 50 years, the mortality rate of premature babies has dropped from 90% to less than 10%. Regular checkups allow you to keep track of your well-being and help doctors understand the population's general health. That year, Adam managed to save a human life. It happened in a rather unusual way. During the night shift, he opened Facebook for a second and stumbled upon a friend's post that looked much like a death note. After a 2-hour conversation, Adam ensured that the young man would go to the hospital the following morning. Since then, the junior doctor has stopped complaining about having to work when everyone else is sleeping. Did you know? One day after his shift, Adam fell asleep in his car in the hospital parking lot. When he woke up, he realized that his next shift would start soon and inadvertently saved time getting ready. Key point 4. Difficulties allow doctors to test their values. After a year as a senior house officer, Adam K. sought to diversify his experience and transferred to another hospital. The working conditions were more challenging, with fewer tools and less technology access than at the previous location. But Adam knew one thing for sure. He liked his chosen path and would continue to practice as an obstetrician and gynecologist. For him, the most important things were the reproductive health of his patients and safe childbirth. Doctors can brighten hospital holidays with gifts. For instance, the on-call doctor might play Santa and distribute Pantone at Christmas. During his second year of practice, Adam began preparing for an exam that would allow him to become a member of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Driven by his experience and confidence in his knowledge, he focused on 2 textbooks. Unfortunately, the textbooks quickly disappointed the junior doctor. The first textbook consisted of terms he and his colleagues had never used during their practice, and another, as if mockingly, assured readers that they would only need a few hours a day for 6 months to prepare for the exam. Guess how much time Adam had? 4 months. And of course, even imagining extra hours in the day was also impossible. Yet, in every challenging situation, he found support from his partner, affectionately referred to as H. Imagine this remarkable individual who willingly tolerated the fact that Adam worked round the clock, couldn't pick up a birthday gift from the post office, and asked to move each year because of a work transfer. Do you agree that H deserves not only an honorary diploma, but also a medal for their sincere and unwavering support? That year gave him another valuable acquaintance with an 80-year-old Polish woman. Without any hints, she immediately recognized that previous generations of Adam's family came from Poland. The woman inspired him with her cheerfulness and openness. She introduced him to all her visiting relatives and always had stories from her life ready to amuse Adam when he asked how she was doing. Key point 5. A time when doctors can finally breathe easy. The third year brought Adam K. 2 important realizations. First, he did not care that his salary was below the minimum because he felt fulfilled in his medical vocation and understood its value. Furthermore, he began to pay closer attention to how doctors communicate and whether they valued each other's work. After all, months without days off, additional shifts, and penalties for the slightest mistake were considered the norm in the hospital. But there was no point in waiting for support and encouraging words from colleagues. Would house officers feel better if they changed their work ethic? The only way to verify this was to practice vocal support. I've kept every single card a patient has given me. They were little fist bumps that kept me going, rays of thoughtfulness from my patients that hit the spot when bosses couldn't or wouldn't oblige. Adam K. The second realization was the desire to find a place with H. Although the apartment search process was sometimes exciting, Adam enjoyed talking with a counselor about possibly getting a mortgage. The counselor did not hide his surprise that the junior doctor's expenses were minimal. Adam had never been more grateful for his job, even though it didn't give him free time to have fun and spend money. Balancing personal and professional lives is a superpower among doctors, given their limited family time due to work. Adam soon became a registrar. Now he participated in the department's management, taught students, and was involved only in complex operations. He was often late for work, but now he held an important position, managed to spend time with his partner, and had his own place. Life ceased to seem as monotonous and complicated as before. However, everything was not always as cloudless as he would have liked. One day, Adam deliberately spent his day off working overtime at the hospital. This behavior is how Stockholm Syndrome works, feeling enjoyment from the circumstances restricting your freedom. Actually, he just wanted to make sure his patient was okay after a complicated operation. Key point 6. Medical superstitions, or how doctors turn illogical. Adam's new position allowed him to share his knowledge and deepen his experience. Out of curiosity, he could guess the diagnosis of people on the street, which is much more difficult for an obstetrician-gynecologist than for a dermatologist. In addition to specializations, doctors choose how to communicate with patients, whether to be positive, thoughtful, or just severe. Most combine brevity and sarcasm. But what has always remained a constant in his work is the principle that an even number of staples in suturing can lead to misfortune. Therefore, Adam taught students to apply only odd amounts. But that sounds like some superstitious medieval belief, you might say. Well, this knowledge was passed down to Adam from trusted professors, and he saw nothing wrong with just following it. The same applies to good luck wishes before the night shift. In the hospital, anyone uttering those words is instantly met with curses. Why? Because without fail, the apocalypse would unfold the very next second. A patient with a foreign object in the anus could come for an urgent examination. 8 women went into labor simultaneously, and 3 doctors needed help. Fed up with such coincidences, Adam even refused to operate if Kiss songs were playing on the radio, especially those dealing with death, hell, and other dramas. Although AC/DC's songs would hardly satisfy him either. Also, he and his colleagues had a tradition of keeping a list of the strangest names for newborns. Their top included Satan, Sayton, which sounds like Satan, and Lasagna, and Princess Michael. Of course, those years were filled not only with various prejudices and hospital entertainment. Adam also gained work experience in a private clinic. But the number of unreasonable expenses, the need for patients to solve problems with insurance, and additional responsibility did not inspire him to switch to the private institution, no matter how many stories he heard about mountains of gold. Therefore, he recalled the memories of their jokes with a greater desire than his acquaintance within the field of private medicine. Did you know, once a patient unreasonably sued Adam Kay, accusing him of unprofessionalism and harming people? Upset by the lawsuit, Adam briefly considered countersuing because her claims distracted him from his direct duties. Key point 7. The greatest achievement can be the beginning of the end. Having received an offer to become a senior registrar, Adam changed his place of work again. Now his pager called him out much less often, although, as always, the responsibility increased. Among his new duties, he explored conception techniques in cases of infertility. But luckily, the old familiar traditions also remained. His friends called him, sent text messages, and even sent photos to ask him for advice about their diagnoses and health problems. One day, a student approached him with the same request after a lecture. Amazed by his courage, or perhaps insolence, Adam examined the man's genitals and discovered he was somehow trying to stop a working fan with his penis. Of course, you can try to guess who won that contest. But what was unequivocally clear, the student had to be stitched up and banned from reading stories about Don Quixote, who competed with windmills. Career promotion in medicine does not mean that the doctor will face less absurd cases with patients. The field of medicine has its own wheel of life. If you've put in that much effort to get into college, you should graduate. When 6 years are behind you, it's time to start practicing. For junior doctors, the position of senior house officer is the fulfillment of all dreams. The officers, in turn, desire the registrar's role. Does the registrar consider himself the happiest? Of course not, because they see the opportunity to become a consultant as early retirement and a chance to finally enjoy life. Not everyone manages to navigate this path successfully, and many doctors may be surprised when one of their colleagues decides to leave medicine. But this was Adam Kay's decision after a challenging delivery in which the child died and the mother lost a lot of blood. Of course, he did everything in his power, and it was not his fault. But Adam knew he could not go through this again. I don't miss the doctor's version of a bad day, but I do miss the good days. I miss my colleagues, and I miss helping people. I miss that feeling on the drive home that you've done something worthwhile. Adam Kay. Conclusion. Adam Kay worked at the hospital for several more months. He hoped that he would not leave medicine if he engaged in academic science and writing medical articles instead of practice. But it didn't help. Now Adam felt like a completely different person. He struggled to express emotions and communicate with patients and colleagues. After leaving the hospital, he found himself writing scripts for television programs. He noticed that his usual sense of humor and zest for life was slowly returning to him. Now, his experience as a doctor allowed him to create stories that would entertain and educate audiences. Although he has finished his practice, he will always draw people's attention to the fact that doctors constantly feel great responsibility and pressure. The insufficient number of specialists in many state medical institutions indicates that the motivation of employees is not money, but the willingness to help people take care of their health, and often the need to save patients' lives. Society must stop perceiving doctors as people from another planet who have no feelings and needs but simply serve others. They have to constantly balance on the edge of a knife, trying to combine their private and professional lives and not burn out while overcoming daily challenges. And it will be easier for them to cope with all this if they feel the understanding and support of others. Try this. Follow the changes in legislation regarding the duties of doctors. Whenever possible, initiate and sign petitions to raise salaries for medical workers. Express your gratitude for hospital care. Even when you think that doctors already know that they're doing an important job, remember that it is precious for them to feel the support of the people for whom they work so hard.